The Levant is a huge place, and in the Middle East, each household have the same dish, but they do it differently. So it's very connected to the land, to the farming, to what people actually eat.
A huge part of the appeal of the food of the Levant is the spread of food on the table, and I think people just love eating this way.
A meal can take up to 3 or 4 hours, so you just sit there and relax into it and eat. They don't use words to show their affection and love, they feed you. I am Sami Tamimi, or just Sami. Just Sami. I'm a chef, been cooking basically all my life, and I am also a partner in Ottolenghi restaurant company. I'm a book author as well. Our last book is Palestine, written by this lady, Tara.
I am Tara Wigley. I've been with Team Ottolenghi for just over 10 years. I'm a food writer, and when I'm not writing about food, I'm making it and eating it. So we're in the Ottolenghi test kitchen.
And today we're gonna do these delicious Sumac buns. Imagine cinnamon bun, but on a savory side. I'm gonna start now by doing the dough. And the first thing I need to do is the flour.
That's just plain flour.
Fast-acting yeast, sugar, butter, half a teaspoon of salt. And here I have some cold water. I'm gonna crack 3 eggs in here.
This isn't a recipe that you would find necessarily in a traditional Palestinian kitchen, but it's based on the za'atar bread, which is a very traditional dish.
Bread and pastries are very, very important, not just the Palestinian, but also the Middle East, because they eat bread with everything. I mean, literally everything.
It's like an extension of the hand.
Yeah,
you don't need utensils, you can just use your bread.
Yeah, they do that quite a lot, but also they sometimes double, triple carb. And bread is always on the table. I'm adding the mix of eggs and water to the dough, slowly.
And the full recipe for the buns is in the description below.
And basically, it's a matter of probably 7 to 8 minutes until the dough comes together. If you don't have one of these lovely things, you can actually do it by hand. It takes, obviously, a lot longer and lots of kneading, but it's not impossible.
What are we looking for here?
Bits of butter still kind of visible. I'm trying to just kind of grab it all in one piece and into the oil bowl and just run it around, just kind of make a bowl out, and that's done. We're gonna cover it and leave it ideally overnight, but yeah, you can leave it for probably
if you want
a few
to
hours.
Do them on the day, do it in the morning, 6 hours, 7 hours. It's always annoying if you look at a recipe and then the first instruction is, and then leave overnight, but these are best done overnight, and then it's just the job done anyway.
So, off to the fridge. In a kind of cliche way, food kept me connected to Palestine. When I was homesick, I cooked Palestinian food at home. But also, professionally, I was always borrowing from this heritage, from this kind of flavoring, from the ingredients.
He's got tahini and olive oil running through his veins.
Yeah, this
like
is something that
lemon.
you can't really change.
So we've got the dough proving, and then we're going to move on to the onion filling. So let's get chopping.
While you're doing the onions, I'm gonna pick some of the herbs for you.
Oh, nice one. And also 3 tablespoons of oil in the pan just to get that warm. What are your top tricks for not crying, Sami, when you're chopping your onions?
There isn't one. I'm afraid.
People say put a bit of bread in your mouth.
No.
Wear goggles.
It doesn't work. Many years ago, when we started the Ottolenghi, Yotam was chopping onion with the helmet on. And he was the joke of the week.
Well, if they make you cry at this stage, they'll make you
But
smile
it's good to
at the
cry.
next
It's
stage.
good for the eyes. It's a kind of
It's good for the soul.
cleansing, yeah, for the soul.
Good for the soul.
For me, it was quite emotional to go back and write a cookbook about Palestine because I left 22 years ago. It's a true love letter to my country, to family, to the place that I grew up. And it's a book that I always wanted to write, and it was great to have Tara as a second pair of eyes.
So we were on these kind of opposite journeys. For Sami, it was this love letter home. And then for me, it was an adventure into a new place. But actually, it kind of worked because with Sami with all his knowledge and me with all my ignorance in a way, saying, OK, well, let's all go together on this adventure.
So the oil is hot here now. Nice sizzle.
I think one of the great myths of so many recipe books is that you can caramelize onions in 8 minutes. It's not true. It's a lie. If you want to caramelize onions properly, it needs to be a good kind of 15, 20 minutes.
Palestinians use quite a lot of onions in different ways. Quite often they finish the dish with fried onion or crispy onion.
The sumac buns are a really good example of a dish where you have really traditional element. The sumac onions being a key part of the national dish of Palestine, the chicken moussaka, and then playing around with these sumac onions and putting them in a dough. And then Sami's had loads of feedback from his Palestinian buddies and families. They're really excited about seeing these traditional ingredients in a new, fresh light. So as you can see, 15, 20 minutes on, they're really shrunk down, really soft, really, really sweet. So we're going to add ground cinnamon. Seems like quite a lot of cinnamon to go in for buns, but it really kind of balances with the oregano, which is a really hard herb. Then the crucial sumac, which is one of our favourite ingredients, which is just used in so many of our recipes because it's tangy, lemony, it's just a beautiful, unique ingredient. So set it aside for the onions to cool and then add the herbs. We've got thyme and oregano. If you haven't got both, just thyme is fine, or another hard herb like rosemary. And then I need a bit more oil. And we're also going to season, so we're going to have salt and sugar.
And they're really delicious, almost like a chutney. They have, you know, the sweetness of the onion and the herbs and also the tanginess of the sumac. I always get surprised because you go to a place like Waitrose and you find all sorts of things that 10 years ago I had to go to Edgware Road to this particular shop to get it, and now it's widely available. It's really, really amazing.
It's so true. I think like 10 years ago, if I'd gone and asked someone in the supermarket, sorry, where's the za'atar? They would have kind of looked at me like I'm mad, and now that's not a mad question to ask.
Now we have the dough that we made earlier. Ta-da! So just a matter of tipping it here and just lightly flour the surface. And you start from the middle, so here. Just make sure when you roll it to release it so it doesn't kind of stick. And I think this is exactly what we are looking for. Don't worry about it not being even. It won't show in the end results.
Rustic. If in doubt, use the word rustic.
Yeah. And the onions, I just do like that, and then we can spread them. The smell is delicious of all the herbs and the onion and the sumac.
Also at this stage, I have an expression that everything's better with feta, and you could just crumble a little bit of feta over here.
Okay, so I'm using my hands. I think it's the best tool, and just get in there all the way.
He's having his Jackson Pollock moment.
And you just want to make sure that it's evenly spread. And you can roll it this way or this way. I find it easier to do it from this side.
But it must be the long edge, not the short edge.
And just make it as tight as possible so it doesn't fall to bits when you cut it. And just keep going, rolling and pressing.
Roll and press.
I don't need to cut a lot of the edge, it's just trim and then 4 centimeters. So they are next to each other, but they're not snug. They need to have space to prove.
We've all got to have space to prove ourselves.
I want to look like a bun. Here you go.
So good.
And now we cover it again with a towel and leave it to prove.
So while the buns are proving, I'm going to get ahead and make the parsley oil. Really, really simple. We just got some flat leaf parsley, finely chopped 15 grams. Then we're going to add just 1 chilli, unusually for Sami and I because we're chilli addicted. We've got a paste in our book Palestine called shatta, which is a fermented chilli paste. You can do it with either red or green chilies.
And we have also a green party and a red party. When it comes to shatta,
I'm team green.
I love the red one. I think it's got this kind of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Unlike the green, which is slightly kind of on the bitter side.
And then I love using microplanes. I think they're really useful for getting the zest off a lemon, because the thing you want to avoid is the white pith, because that's bitter. So when you do this, don't do it too hard. Just do it nice and lightly. So we're just going to mix the chili and the lemon and the oil. It's really, really simple.
So now these buns are looking nice.
They look beautiful.
The cooking time is 50 minutes, 50. They go for half an hour, and then we're gonna cover them with foil and cook them for another 20 minutes just to make sure that they're thoroughly cooked.
It sort of almost sounds like a cliche when people talk about hospitality and food, but it's not just the actual food, it's just the time spent making food, which I think is such a generous thing to share with people.
Sitting on the same table and sharing food, it's a basic thing that we do and we enjoy, and that, in fact, brings people together. So now the buns are cooled down slightly. I'm gonna drizzle this mix on top and be quite generous, you know. This is part of the flavor, but also makes them look really, really shiny and colorful. It's a really nice dish to have for brunch, and as Tara said before, feta goes everywhere, so you can add actually feta on top, which is really nice.
What's the expression, Sami? Everything's better with?
Yeah, with feta. I feel like this monkey that's just kind of, do this. Look how beautiful they are.
So beautiful.
They are nice as they are, which is still warm. You can serve them this way. They will be absolutely fine for later on. I mean, if you want to do them in the morning and serve them for lunch and dinner, nothing will happen to them.
And it's lovely as part of a spread with all your other dishes, but also it's a real standalone. It could be the kind of main thing with a sort of slightly boring soup on the side, so it can be the real showcase itself.